Hey y'all, and welcome back to our messy little film reviews. We are finishing off Hart of Dixie, which is probably a racist title, but too late to change it now because it's been finished for years. We're gonna finish it. This is the fourth season. It got canceled. I don't really know the reasons. I'm assuming because it was a wackadoo show to begin with, and my ex used to hate it. Hence why he's my ex. But I was a lover. I mean, how could you not like little Rachel Bilson? I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Anyway, she's very happy because obviously she's a bit, something going on there. She is just suspecting that she's pregnant. So she's very excited that Wade is going to stay in Bluebell. And y'all, I always forget this, but if you could give us some likes and some subscribes, look in. I got a donation link. There's a lot of fun merch you can buy. All of that helps to continue make this channel better, hire more people to make it more interesting, because I do pretty much everything myself. Pretty much everything you see shot is shot by like iPhone footage of me that I paid for my own travel, all of that stuff, edited all. So that's why a lot of these videos take long, and I have like over 200 film reviews, and I'm doing more all my life. So would love to get those done, and money helps that. And if you don't have money, support and attention helps that, because that makes the people who have money want to give me money for you. So really appreciate it. Hope y'all are doing well. But anyway, so yes, Zoe's very excited that Wayne is back in Bluebell, but he's not ready to dive back into a relationship with her. So she's gonna have to settle for being serenaded by a meatball as she swims in a bikini. Better enjoy the bikini body. I mean, not that your body can be beautiful after pregnancy, in a bikini, but better enjoy it now. But anyway, she's going to keep trying to get his attention. That's part of the bikini. Shelby's back in town. She goes back straight into that affair with Rick, even though he had said no originally because his mom was not a big Shelby fan. This episode is filthy. So if you have a child, I don't know, if you have somebody you're trying to protect with the illusion of purity, or if purity is important to you, be careful. This episode's covered in filth. But anyway, Shelby and Rick are back together. Here we go. We ship them. We ship those little cute people. So George and LaVon, they're on the fire department. Hottie's putting out fires. Hottie's putting out the heat. And they are partnered up during training, which is a little bit, because they both had a crush on Lemon and everything. They're still into her. But Lemon is back from the singles cruise early. She's got a new boyfriend, who is a doctor, Dr. Henry. And then Wayne and Zoe have a one-night stand eventually because her skirt was short, but it's just sex, right? And he doesn't have anything to be mad about. But Zoe does let Brick know about her period, you know what I mean? Because it's missing, and he is the other doctor. And I guess she can kind of doctor herself. Like, I don't know. Does a doctor know when she's pregnant, or does she have to wait for another doctor? There's a lot of confusing questions in here. But anyway, these characters are super goofy. You thought they were goofy in the last couple seasons. They've turned it up the goof to the T. It comes out to that Cricket is like, well, because she had confessed that she was gay at their 10 years. She thought Stanley was also gay, but he was straight. And people were thinking that Lemon was going to be the pregnant one because of the whole doctor thing, right? There's maybe a hint of like, maybe it's Shelby and Brick, you know what I mean? But it was not. Annabeth is the one who kind of thought that Lemon was pregnant because, what else do you do on a cruise? But Wayne's dad really wants him and Zoe back together, but Wayne is not ready to commitment phobe. And he does change his mind, but she says no and shuts the door on him. And then anyway, Annabeth thinks that Lemon is pregnant, but Lemon is like, no, listen, we're just putting on a show because we want to get the money from my grandmother, because I need the money for fancies. So Poor Zoe, she's freaking out because she is confirmed pregnant, locked in, pregnancy belly. And she's freaking out. And Annabeth knows. Annabeth knows literally everybody's secrets. And Annabeth is literally like my favorite character. So you can trust her. I care. So poor Zoe, she is making Wayne very confused because she didn't take him back because he showed up back at her door. But then, unfortunately, she's recruited by Rose just to go give a sex talk. Retro Raggy. At the worst time when she's regretting it, right? We mean, what's more Alabamian than having a bastard child, you know? But I don't know. Anyway, she does agree to go on a date with Wayne after she runs into him, because she also just needs, I think, a relief. She like tried to do a curling iron whole thing with the sex ed, but she's gonna keep the baby, but she wants to do it alone, so, which is very, very dumb. And Wayne is like, yeah, you know, we could just take it slow. Maybe then he'll propose, but her mom wants her to move back. So she's got a lot of decisions to make, as you do when you are impregnated with another human spawn. And she's still keeping the secret, right? And that's why he had said that they should keep the relationship slow, which also makes her, like, leave, right? Like, he's not ready, and she has to do all this stuff. And Lemon and Annabeth are like, listen, you're still going to be a good mom. You know everything to do. You're a doctor. You're smart, right? You're caring. You're full of love. But Annabeth is keeping Lavon's secret. She's keeping Brick's secret. She's keeping Zoe. And George and Lavon, they are jealous of Henry. They don't know what's going on, so they want to check out. And they think that Annabeth is about to blow up all the secrets. But Lemon and Brick come clean about their lies. And then Zoe is finally gonna tell Wayne that, you know, hey, I am pregnant, but I don't expect anything from you, which is crazy. Expect somebody from like, we need to hold men accountable for getting pregnant, okay? I don't care. I think you need to do it. Anyway, I like that Cricket is also with this firefighter gal, so for it. I love that Stanley is also drowned in all of Cricket's dolls. I feel bad that poor Zoe cannot even drink at times like this. So Zoe is avoiding Wayne to talk about the future. She's going to go back to New York with her mom to help with the baby. But Wayne's going to follow her, right? He's in it now. He's like, what, you're holding my son? Like, this is now serious. And his dad is like, let's propose. And Zoe's like, fine, I'll go on a date with him. But that's when she goes to New York and Wayne follows her and talks to her mom and they reconcile. And Lemon is mad that it is revealed that her and Henry are not dating, that it got leaked to the press, and she didn't really know that it was George and Lavon's fault, but it is. So she just needs to relive the good old days with Cricket and Annabeth. And George and Lavon, though, kind of wreck it, right? And Annabeth still is like, I still love you. And Lemon and George kind of have this heartfelt where they're like, I don't know that we'll ever find what we like originally had that feels like so safe, which is actually very sad. But George kind of realizes that like he's no longer in love with Lemon and is like, you should go to Lavon. And now Lavon, Annabeth, and Lemon are in a very complicated situation that they have been in for now however many years have been over this like 4-season series. So retro, right? Anyway, Zoe is very much like she doesn't want to get married. She just wants to have a baby because it's going to change her life. And it's already so much full of like so many uncertainties. And Lemon is being forced to sell fancies. But Lavon wants to help her out. So he adds a bonus to the prize pot for the town talent show. But Shelby is hailed as the most talented person because she was literally and legally blonde and crushed it. But she experiences an allergic reaction. And they do this kind of murder mistress who sabotage Shelby, a whole thing of the episode, which is very fun. And again, George realizes that he's just in love with simpler times. And now he's on this miserable kind of journey of self-discovery. Wanda and Tom are also pregnant. They also have a baby, Goat. And they don't want to give Shelby her baby back and even go, like, they're just being a lot of tomfoolery, just so you know. Anyway, Zoe and Wayne, they're still effing. They're naked, but they get stuck, and then she has to pee in a bucket, and she doesn't really want people to know her secret, but she's keeping the baby, and the reality sets in, like, she's gonna have to, like, come forward. Anyway, Shelby is allergic to red food dye. That's what got her in trouble. And the sheriff is like, yep, she was sabotaged, and so he brings everyone to the Rammer Jammer. But that's where Wayne and Zoe are hiding. And Wayne wants, you know, it to be revealed about what happened between them, that they're back together. But Zoe's like, I don't know. I don't want to face all these questions. I don't want to face all the scrutiny. Of course, Shelby still wants the talent show Allergic Reaction All, but she gives Lemon the prize money because she wants to win her approval as being her father's girlfriend. And Levon is like, well, we still like each other, right? But Lemon's not going there because she really, really loves Annabeth, and now she has the whole problem of running fancies with Shelby's. So, wild. I think Rose was the one who accidentally sabotaged her because there was the cheese curls, and she was on sound, and it was on her microphone, so it actually wasn't even Lemon. And then Zoe tells the whole town her whole news with Wayne naked under a tablecloth, right? Which is, I think, the only way to announce pregnancy. Reminder, if my busted womb ever figures out how to be pregnant, that's the way that I'll do it. But I thought it was really sweet of Shelby to give Lemon the prize money. I don't know that I have anything to do that. And they love that they're like, oh, we could do this Bridget Sisters food truck sort of thing. But anyway, Zoe and Wayne are like, we need to make more money because we have to move into a new place. So she asked Brick for a raise, which, of course, you know, is never gonna go very well. And then both of them having to move from Levon's, right? That's a whole thing. Now little Levon is gonna be an empty nester. It was 2 adult young ones he was taking over. And Annabeth is thinking of going to school to be a nurse. And she's thinking of evicting George's houseboat, but he retaliates by trashing it. And he's, like, bonding with raccoons, like George's a whole thing. And Lemon and Levon want to be together, which crushes my heart because I am, I think, Annabeth and Levon. And I will never understand that they broke up. But anyway, Wayne is trying to get more business for the Rammer Jammer, but it's a bit difficult because of this new food truck that was in town. That's kind of stealing away some of the business. Obviously, it's not a very big town. And Meatball's like, hey, I have my cousin who's a famous singer. She can perform at the restaurant. But she's like, okay, I want a luxurious bed and breakfast. But the actual bed and breakfast is closer to bed bugs, so they just make Levon's place there. Also, Brick is an asshole and doesn't give Zoe a raise for a fucking child. Brick can die, honestly. He doesn't deserve Shelby. I hate him. Like, if somebody's pregnant, they ask for a raise, just give it to him. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I don't understand. So just do it. This whole episode is very over the top. They don't really hide the TV. It's very soap opera-y. Everything is very weird. But you know, it's the last season, so they're just being all weird. So Levon and Lemon are still kind of convicted about their feelings. And again, Annabeth is selling that houseboat for a nursing school. But Lemon tries to set her and George up so she can be with Levon, but it's not really going very well. And they pitch this kind of like small festival hood. I like when they're all kind of in the mirror, but everybody feels very awkward in a lot of these episodes. I do kind of believe that Lemon is a feminist icon. Plot twist. Who would have thunk? Like, she's an entrepreneur. She's also like, oh, my friends are right, I'm being selfish. And I do think she has to own that she wants to be with Levon, but I love that she tries to set up circumstances where it would be okay, right? She tries to do it in such a classy way. Like, I honestly ended up really, really liking Lemon. I might like Lemon as a character better than Zoe Hart. She's definitely more interesting. But she's in this weird place of like, well, you know, we're not together. I mean, and Levon chose, you know, got rid of Annabeth, and I think was always kind of settling with Annabeth, second prize to Lemon, which is very hard, but Annabeth really means something to Lemon, and I think that Annabeth would understand about Lemon with Levon, because, like, she knew about Lemon's history. Lemon had him first, you know what I mean? Levon agrees to help take care of the baby, which is super nice of him. And, it makes it easier that they are expecting a baby boy, which is probably good. I don't think that Wayne could be trusted around a girl. Annabeth and George are just going to be friends. But I do think that them together, it makes sense, too. I'll let them date. I thought they did date for a second. I don't remember now. There's too many reviews, y'all. I love that Zoe's giving her own ultrasound. I mean, I guess you have to when Brick's not going to give you a raise. But she doesn't know. She's worried she doesn't know how to raise an Alabama boy. So she's like, you know, getting the Bluebell man to help her out. Magnolia has a boyfriend that Lemon hates. Zoe's just freaking out this entire season, too. Tracy and Scooter are together, but they're not proposed. They're not dating. They're just dating. But somebody had thought that they were already married. And they all try to do this, like, profitable baseball game with the competing town. And then Alex, his ex-wife, who has a little girl who also plays baseball, ran into Brick. And they kind of have these questions of, like, why do they want to stay at the beginning? Which is very, very real. Like, pretty rough. To have a mom that leaves you, you know. Giving very, oh, you could do it for this family, but you could do it for ours. Very good placey. Very, my own battle with my mom. Very real. Then, George and Annabeth, they show some genuine interest in one another, but they're very hesitant because they both obviously have some lingering feelings for other people. And Bluebell is also hosting this football game with their rival Fillmore. And Annabeth and Levon reunite in this. And then also so does Brick, obviously, in his ex-life who abandoned it. And he is meeting up with her in secret, you know, having a little chat. But Annabeth kind of turns down George because he is toxic. He's like so undone from the whole wedding thing. But I think the whole Lemon, like how crazy Lemon was as a girlfriend and just to cheat on him and like his whole devotion to her, and he only like sort of emotionally strayed with Zoe, but he has to know something was on. It's still not okay, but that would wreck me too. I'm not the same for my 5-year relationship ending, you know? Like, you do change, so it is very important who you are with. But anyway, Zoe's kind of conclusion of Alabama boys, they learn that they're supposed to be scared of things, and they learn from their mom too. And Annabeth gets jealous of George, who goes to Tandy, who's having like a cake with Scooter, which is also very not ideal, and obviously still has feelings for Tandy, even though she's clearly moved on to something else. Like, George, what are you doing? But I guess whatever, he was written to be the worst for this episode. And Annabeth does such a solid, and she gives Lemon and Levon her blessing. Anyway, so yeah, we go back to Brick, who eventually opens up with Lemon about his encounter with Alice, her wife, and Lemon is like, I don't want my mom back in the life, but she shows up at Fancy one day and opens up some rooms with Lemon at her work, just like a mom would do. So great. Wayne is also flirting, which is not great. And Wayne is just thinking that, like, you know, you should have free stuff because kids are super expensive. So weird. Then, Alice's daughter Scarlett is still hanging around in Bluebell, and then she finds out about these two older sisters, which is also like jarring for a little kid. Like, I think that's the worst thing about these kind of like separate families or the adoption agency is that, okay, it's one thing the parents can't raise them, but taking them away from the siblings needs to be worked out legally, and I'm sure I'll get into that in a deeper dive than what Heart of Dixie is giving, but yeah, I really, really don't agree with the way that is handled. So, Lemon and Magnolia, they don't really forgive Alice, but they have a sister, right, Scarlett, and that is very important. And Zoe really wants Wade to stop flirting his way through life, so he requests Levon to help him, and George and Annabeth finally plan their first date, and they're like, okay, but we can't go to anywhere that drags up no memories. But that is pretty difficult. So, I did like Meatballs. I do Want to Marry You, which was so good. And the Norwegian waiter character he was an absolute trip, who was on George and Annabeth's date, which is pretty well. But Lemon and Scarlett, she ends up kind of spilling her cover because, Lemon, it never always works out for Lemon, but they end up bonding over One Direction, which is a bit funny. Remember when they were a thing? It was so wild. Zoe also is trying to find this family heirloom to pass on to her child. Lemon and Levon finally get back together, and Wade and Levon are like, okay, well, let's let Zoe and Lemon become real friends then. But they really only kind of yell about how to divide their time with Levon, which is a bit goofy. It's also Brick's birthday, but everybody forgot. But also he's an asshole, so good. That's what you get. Karma. Okay, buddy. And they're also filling in for Tom and Wanda's various duty because they also have a new baby. And George's parents are in town, and he's like embarrassed about his side job as a music manager for them, which is the whole Meatball song thing, which is a bit funny, iconic. But Zoe ends up using her pregnancy to get gifts for Wanda from Lemon, which is a bit silly, and Lemon keeps bartering with Levon's time for breakfast alone. But it is really sad. Like, I do feel sad for Zoe. She has nothing that her family inherited for the baby. And Levon wants Brick's blessing. And Brick, who goes, which daughter, which is, like, scary. Like, what, he's going to date Magnolia and he's so much older. Brick, what are you doing? But he's all pissy about it because obviously they forgot their baby. And then it is revealed to George that his dad was let go of the firm. So, ruh-roh, not amazing news. And Lemon gave this little duck her dad made for Lemon, and it was from Zoe's dad. And I cried. It was so beautiful. It was so sweet. Oh my gosh. And then, I don't know, I love Lemon, I really do. Just, when she has her moments, it's, like, so much worth it, because she's pretty silly. Anyway, so Annabeth has a dream in which Bluebell's founder, Cyrus Lavonis Jeremiah Joes, tells her that the world is ending, and so she tells it to Cricket, who is a funny story, but that ends up, Cricket, she's a fragile soul, right? She's been gay for so long, that wears on you, that's why it's so important to have safe spaces for people to be gay, but we're not there yet. Society, I hate it. Anyway, so everybody starts making preparations for how they like to spend their last day on Earth. And Lemon and Annabeth, they go make amends for the Scarlet's bullying in high school. And Wayne's really sad because it was revealed that Zoe thinks that marriage is done, which is honestly a very big surprise because Zoe feels like she's been trying to be a married girl for, like, the beginning of the... Like, what happened? What do you mean? But I guess she doesn't believe in marriage. And I guess that makes sense. Like, there's some people who are like, I want to be in a relationship, but I don't want to get married. So she gives Wade some space, and she goes with George to Meatball's performance in New Orleans. And Everybody's freaking out because there's signs of a flood and there was no chickens. And there's been like a couple of days with no chickens there, going to bed or whatever. The girl that Lemon and Annabeth bullied, I so identified with. Smart, smelly Marjorie. Oh my gosh. Vibes, right? Me in a past life. But anyway, George is also like this music manager in Nashville. Maybe he should just give his current job to his dad. I don't know, man. I don't even know how it works. If we can do that in law. Maybe not. But anyway, George goes into Pamela, who's like, hey, come music manage in Nashville, right? Which is, I think, what he should do. It's clearly what he's passionate about, right? And Zoe ends up coming around to marriage. And she helps George help her up with a supporter, like how to support the proposal. And Levon ends up kind of stealing it because they stumble on the display and Levon asks Lemon to marry her, which is, it just like steals her proposal, which is very, very silly. And Annabeth is like, you know what, George, you should go take the job. And the town bids him all farewell because, of course, like, I think he kind of has to be because there's still some tension from him and Zoe, right? And I think it's going to be too painful when him and Zoe are together. Also, I'm pretty sure maybe Jenny and Georgia, maybe not. Maybe another show that I saw him in. I don't know. Maybe that's what he had to go. But, I love it. Lemon is really cool with the wedding. She believes it's the right person, and that's the same that Zoe believes. And then Zoe's water breaks because they are holding off their own engagement since Levon and Lemons kind of stole it. And Brick also officially makes Zoe partner at the medical practice, which is actually kind of, I'm glad it worked out for him. Okay, thank you, Brick, for doing that. Finally, 4 years later, they're all trying to put together the perfect engagement party, but of course there's complications. And Levon admits the truth about it, and Zoe ends up going into labor. Annabeth also gets mad at George that she thinks that she would just come to Nashville to be with him. And everybody goes to the hospital because it's apparently a small town, and everybody can fit into these large waiting rooms that they have in a small town, which is very goofy. But anyway, Annabeth is going to break up with George. Levon gets Brick and George to help him plan a real proposal. But everybody helps support Wayne and Zoe, who are like, you know what, let's get married as soon as possible. We're literally parents. Like, can't have a bastard child. Incorrect. Right? And George is like, I don't want to give up you, Annabeth, because I love you. Like, and you love me. Meanwhile, Zoe and Wayne get married at a hospital, which I guess is like the most doctor thing you can do. It's like a hospital birthday anniversary. There's so many parties going on. And I think there's a ridiculous musical number where it goes along with the Hart. Yep. Oh my goodness. A bit goofy. George and Annabeth are like, you know what? We love each other. They're going to try to make it work. And Levon is like, you know what? I can't care about the perfect moment. There's never going to be one. And he proposes to her on the side of the road. Zoe and Wayne, they say those vows in the living room. They welcome their son into the world. And they have the ridiculous physical flash forward where we see Lemon and Levon getting married. The whole town is present. And George and Annabeth are down together. So everybody gets a match, right? Lemon wedding, Zoe's a bridesmaid in to part off. And all small towns are not like theirs, they say. Which I would say is true. Some small towns are definitely way more jealous. But that was Heart of Dixie. Woof, it's been a minute, I think, since I finished a full series. This one was surprisingly, I think mostly because it's comedy and a lot of, like, repetitive things just happening and jokes and bit. It was surprisingly easy to get through, but enjoyed it, right? I don't know if it's going to be on, like, I don't know if it would make my top 50. Probably my top 100 shows. I thought the relationships and characters were cool. It was obviously very well filmed. There was a couple of goofy moments, but you know, generally CW shows are pretty good. So, really do like it. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Letting me know your thoughts. Did you like who everybody ended up? I'm actually pretty fine with it. I do think that it's good. I feel a little, I mean, I think ideally, here's what I want. I want Wayne and Lemon, George and Zoe, and Levon and Annabeth. You know what I mean? I think that is what I want my heart of hearts. But it makes sense. I mean, Levon's heartbreak for Lemon was so palpable in season 1. But love y'all. Appreciate you so much. Give us some subscribes, some cash money if you've got it to donate, and yeah, and go ahead and like and follow all the accounts below. Really appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.